Noah Reid had always believed power was everything. Billion-dollar deals, boardroom victories, a life controlled by contracts and schedules. That was his world. Love. It was a distraction. Until the hospital call changed everything. Clara Evans, his ex-wife, had survived a sudden accident. A twist of fate that dragged him from his cold office into a room filled with beeping monitors and the scent of antiseptic. But it wasn't just her life, he glimpsed in that sterile light. On the hospital bed, beside her, sat two tiny girls with eyes like his, clutching her hands as if she were their entire world. 3 years old. Twins. Noah's hands trembled as he realized the truth he had never known. The family he abandoned had been waiting for him all along. For the first time, the ruthless CEO faced a challenge money could never buy: love, forgiveness, and fatherhood. Noah Reid sat in his corner office, skyline stretching beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. He was in the middle of closing the biggest deal of his career, fingers tapping impatiently across the sleek glass desk. Deals, numbers, strategies, this was his world. Love, family, emotions, they were distractions he couldn't afford. Then his phone rang. A hospital number flashed. He ignored it at first, thinking it was spam, but the voice on the other end shattered that illusion. "Mr. Reid, this is St. Mary's Hospital. Your ex-wife Clara Evans was in an accident. She's stable," but his vision blurred. Clara Evans. The woman he once promised forever, the one he left for ambition and power. And now she was lying somewhere in a hospital bed, fragile, injured, and alone. He raced through the city streets, rain streaking the windshield like tears he didn't allow himself to shed. Every stoplight felt like a lifetime. Every honking horn, a drumbeat of guilt. Arriving at the hospital, he was greeted by the sterile smell of antiseptic, the soft beeps of monitors, and a nurse who seemed to read the storm on his face. "She's awake for now," she said softly. "You should see her, but there's someone else here too." Noah followed her down the corridor, heart hammering against his ribs. In the room lay Clara, pale and weak but alive. Beside her sat two tiny girls, twins, barely 3 years old, holding her hands as if she were the center of their universe. Noah froze. His chest tightened. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He had a family he never knew existed. His daughters, 3 years old. The life he'd abandoned. Clara opened her eyes slowly. "Noah," her voice was hoarse, tinged with pain and disbelief. He knelt beside her, his own voice breaking. I didn't know," he whispered. "You didn't ask," she replied softly, eyes flicking to the girls. "You left, and they grew up without you." Noah's hands shook. The girls looked up at him, their eyes wide, innocent, curious. One of them tugged at her mother's gown. "Daddy," she whispered. His throat tightened. The word was foreign, unfamiliar, yet it reverberated in his chest. He swallowed hard, tears blurring his vision. "I'm here," he stammered. Clara's eyes softened slightly. "They need stability, Noah. Not promises you can't keep. You've been absent their entire lives." He nodded, the weight of regret pressing down like a concrete block. He had no words to fix the past, only a vow to fight for their future. For hours, he sat quietly, watching the girls sleep in their mother's arms, listening to Clara's steady breathing. The empire he had built, the millions he had earned, none of it mattered now. Noah Reid realized, for the first time, that love and family were far more powerful than wealth or status. Outside, the rain finally eased. Inside, a new chapter began, one of second chances, of redemption, and of a father learning how to be a parent to the daughters he never knew existed. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through the hospital blinds. Noah Reid hadn't slept. He sat in a chair beside Clara's bed, staring at the two little girls who were now the center of his universe. Their tiny hands clutched their mother's, their small faces pressed close, trusting, innocent. He felt a pang of guilt sharper than anything he'd ever experienced in boardrooms, full of rivals or in high-stakes negotiations. This was real. This was life he had missed, and it was his fault. Clara stirred slightly. "You're still here," she said, her voice hoarse but tinged with something unspoken, a mix of curiosity, wariness, and a hint of hope. "I can't leave," Noah said simply, his voice soft. I need to be here. For them? For you." Clara turned her gaze toward him. "For them? Yes. For me, maybe someday. But don't think this makes up for 3 years of absence." He nodded solemnly. "I know. I can't change the past. I can only try to be better now." The twins stirred and one of them pointed at him with a tiny finger. "Daddy," she whispered, his throat tightened. "Yes, it's me." Clara's eyes softened slightly, though she still held an invisible barrier between him and herself. They don't know you yet. You can't just step in and expect everything. Noah exhaled, trying to steady his voice. Then I'll start slow. I'll earn their trust, one step at a time. The first small interaction was hesitant. He attempted to hand one of the girls a stuffed animal, but she flinched and looked to her mother. He sat back, swallowing the lump in his throat. Every rejection reminded him of the years he had lost. Hours passed. He observed, silent, watching Clara care for the twins, feeding them, adjusting blankets, coaxing them to sip water. He realized that all his wealth and power could never replace these small, tender moments. Finally, Clara sighed. They're hungry. Can you help me with dinner? Noah blinked. Dinner in a hospital room. He nodded. I think I can do that. The process was awkward at first. The girls were messy, stubborn, and extremely picky. Noah spilled juice, dropped crackers, and flinched at every tantrum. Yet, with each small success, a giggle, a smile, a tiny hand in his, he began to feel something he had never known. Connection. Clara watched quietly, her eyes guarded but observing. Slowly, she realized he wasn't pretending. Every small act, every attempt at patience, revealed a man willing to change. That night, as she rested, Noah remained by the bed. The twins had finally fallen asleep, one nestled in each arm of Clara. He looked at the girls, their small chests rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. His heart ached with both remorse and awe. They're amazing, he whispered. Clara stirred slightly and opened her eyes. Yes, and they deserved better from you. Noah swallowed hard. I know, I can't take back what I missed, but I can try for them, and maybe, for you someday. Clara didn't respond immediately. She was exhausted, emotionally raw, but she didn't push him away either. The small allowance of space was more than he could have hoped for. Over the next days, Noah continued to show up. He learned how to make their breakfast, to soothe them when they cried, to play simple games that drew laughter from their tiny lips. Each giggle was like music he hadn't heard before, each smile a balm to a heart long hardened by ambition. Clara began to allow small interactions, brief touches, quiet smiles, moments where she left him alone with the girls while she stepped away. It was tentative, cautious, but it was progress. One afternoon, Noah sat on the floor, the twins crawling onto his lap with crayons in hand. Show me your drawing, he said softly. One girl drew a stick figure family. The other scribbled hearts around it. That's us, she said proudly. Noah smiled through tears he couldn't hide. Yes, that's us, he whispered. The first genuine hug from one of the girls came that evening. She wrapped her small arms around his neck and whispered, I like you, Daddy. His knees buckled slightly, and he held her tightly, feeling the warmth of acceptance for the first time. It was fragile, new, but real. Clara watched from a distance, eyes glistening. She didn't speak, but in that moment, Noah saw the flicker of hope. Trust, forgiveness, and the possibility of family were slowly weaving back together. Thread by delicate thread, Noah Reid had never felt more powerless and more alive in his entire life. Power, money, and titles were meaningless here. Only love, patience, and persistence mattered. For the first time, he understood fatherhood wasn't a role he could delegate or purchase. It was something he had to earn, day by day, moment by moment. And for these girls, he would give every ounce of himself. The road ahead was long. Clara's trust wouldn't come easily. The twins' hearts had been shaped without him. But Noah Reid, once a man ruled by ambition and pride, was ready? He was ready to be the father he had failed to be, the man he needed to become, and the husband who might one day deserve Clara's love again. And as he sat there, holding the girls close while Clara slept, he whispered a promise he hoped she could one day believe. I'm not leaving this time. Not you. Not them. I will never leave again. The first week outside the hospital was the hardest. Noah Reid had never faced a challenge like this. The twins' giggles, once new and delightful, could turn to tears or tantrums at a moment's notice. And Clara, she was cautious, her eyes sharp, guarding the space between them like a fortress built from years of disappointment. Noah arrived early each morning, dressed casually this time, no suits, no power symbols. He brought breakfast, packed snacks, and carried the girls' little backpacks. Every step in Clara's apartment was a reminder that this world, tiny and fragile, was one he had abandoned. Leela and Lily, the twins, eyed him warily. They weren't used to his presence. Their mother had filled their lives with routines without him, but Noah was patient. He learned quickly that he couldn't force affection. He could only offer consistency. The first breakthrough came during an afternoon nap. The twins stirred, whining softly. Noah picked them up gently, singing a lullaby he'd only ever hummed to himself. The sound was foreign, awkward, but it worked. Slowly, the crying subsided, replaced by soft breathing. Clara watched from the doorway, arms crossed, unsure whether to be impressed or skeptical. "They don't usually settle like that," she muttered. Noah smiled, exhausted but relieved. "I'm learning," he admitted. Days passed with small victories. He learned how to braid the twins' hair without pulling, how to coax giggles with silly faces, how to read bedtime stories in a voice that made sense to every small act became a bridge across the years he had lost. One evening, Clara returned early from work and found Noah in the kitchen. Lila and Lily were sitting at the small table, crayons scattered around, laughing as he attempted to cook scrambled eggs. The kitchen was a mess, yolks on the counter, but the sound of laughter filled the apartment with life it hadn't known in years. "You're really trying, aren't you?" Clara asked quietly, leaning against the doorframe. Noah wiped a smear of egg from his cheek and smiled sheepishly. "I have too. I want to be here. For them. For you." She didn't answer. Instead, she watched, her gaze softening. She noticed the genuine care in his movements, the way he laughed when the girls tickled him, the patience he displayed when they argued over toys. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Clara and Noah sat on the small balcony, city lights flickering below them. Silence stretched, not awkwardly, but comfortably. "I never thought I'd see you like this," Clara said finally. He looked at her, a small humbled smile on his lips. "I never thought I'd need this. Or them. I thought I could have it all without love. I was wrong." Her eyes glistened. "You have 3 years to make up for. You can't erase the past with gestures or gifts." "I know," he said quietly. "I can only be present, show up, and hope one day they and you can trust me." Clara sighed, a soft sound that carried more hope than reproach. "Then start by being consistent. Show up every day. Don't make promises you can't keep." Noah nodded, feeling the weight of both the challenge and the opportunity. The boardroom battles he had fought for decades were nothing compared to the delicate trust of these 2 little girls, and the woman he had once loved. Small victories turned into routines. Noah learned their quirks. Lila liked strawberries. Lily preferred blueberries. One hated the bath, the other loved it. He memorized bedtime routines, nap times, and favorite lullabies. Each day, he wasn't just showing up physically, he was showing up emotionally, learning to feel in ways he never had. Then came the first moment of true breakthrough. Clara had to run an emergency errand and left Noah in charge. The twins clung to her at first, whimpering, but Noah held them close, speaking softly, guiding them through a messy afternoon of snacks, play, and storytelling. By the end, both girls were laughing and hugging him spontaneously. When Clara returned, she paused in the doorway, watching the scene. For the first time, she saw a man transformed. Not perfect, not flawless, but genuinely caring. She saw the man who had chosen to be there, truly be there, without expecting anything in return. "Good job," she said softly. Noah smiled, exhausted but proud. "They're amazing," he said. "I'm just lucky to be part of their world now." Clara nodded. "If you keep showing up like this, maybe one day, we can rebuild more than just trust." Noah felt hope swell in his chest. Not triumph, not victory, real hope. Fragile and precious. The days continued like this. Small victories, tiny gestures, laughter, tears, and slowly, trust. The twins started calling him Daddy more often, seeking comfort in his arms. Clara watched quietly, letting the walls around her heart soften just slightly. Noah Reid, the man who had once chosen business over love, was learning that fatherhood, patience, and presence were battles worth every ounce of his being. And in those quiet, ordinary moments, tying tiny shoelaces, singing silly songs, wiping scraped knees, he realized something profound. Love was the most powerful empire he would ever build. Weeks passed since Noah had first stepped into Clara's apartment. Every day was a test of patience, love, and humility. The twins, Lila and Lily, were slowly warming up to him, but Clara remained cautious, her walls high and strong. Noah understood why. He had abandoned them before. Words alone could never erase the years of absence. Every small gesture mattered. Every moment was a step toward redemption. One morning, Clara had to attend an urgent meeting across town. Noah volunteered to stay home with the girls. She hesitated. "Are you sure you can manage?" she asked, wary. "I'll try," he said honestly. the faintest edge of a smile on his lips. The morning began chaotically. Lila refused to brush her teeth. Lily was crying because she wanted a blue cup instead of red. Noah kept his patience, kneeling down to their level. Speaking softly, "Let's figure this out together," he said. Slowly, the twins complied, giggling at his silly faces and exaggerated gestures. After breakfast, Noah suggested they draw pictures. The twins sat on the living room floor, crayons scattered, concentrating on their artwork. Noah joined in, drawing stick figures, flowers, and funny animals. The girls laughed at his ridiculous drawings, nudging him, sharing crayons, and talking about their day. Clara returned home to find the room full of laughter. She stood silently at the doorway, watching the scene. Noah looked up and smiled. "They've been teaching me patience," he said softly. Clara shook her head, smiling despite herself. "You're learning fast." Noah shrugged. "I've never had better teachers." That evening, after the twins were asleep, Clara and Noah sat in the living room, a quiet tension between them. Clara's voice was soft but firm. "I've been scared," she admitted. "Scared that you'd leave again? That you'd choose business over family?" Noah took her hand gently. "I won't. I've learned what matters. The deals, the money, the empire. None of it compares to this," he said, gesturing to the apartment as if encompassing the girls, her, and everything they represented. Clara looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. "And you're ready to prove that every day?" "I am," he replied. "Even when it's hard, even when I make mistakes, I'll show up. Always." The following week, Noah invited Clara and the twins to a quiet picnic in Central Park. It was a small gesture, but one that symbolized his desire to integrate into their lives. Outside the hospital walls, the girls ran through the grass, chasing bubbles, laughing, and playing tag. Noah chased them, tripping once but laughing along. Clara watched from the picnic blanket, smiling softly. She could see his genuine effort, the way he prioritized her daughter's happiness over his own pride. During a quiet moment, Lila tugged Noah's hand. "Daddy, push me on the swing." He laughed and lifted her onto the swing, pushing gently. She squealed with joy, her little legs kicking in excitement. Lily soon joined, and Noah found himself laughing freely, a sound he hadn't realized he missed. Clara sat nearby, heart softening. She had never imagined he could be like this, vulnerable, tender, patient. Seeing him with their daughters, seeing him genuinely care, she realized that perhaps people could change. Back at home, bedtime came with challenges. The twins resisted sleep, asking for stories and water and one more hug. Noah stayed patient, reading their favorite books, making up silly voices, and singing lullabies. Slowly, they relaxed, eventually drifting off into peaceful sleep. Clara watched him from the doorway. "You've become part of their world," she said softly. Noah looked up, eyes tired but warm. "I'm trying. I want to be the father they deserve." Clara's lips trembled. "And maybe, someday, I can trust you again, not just for them, but for us." He nodded solemnly. "I'll spend every day earning that." By the end of part 4, Noah had learned that being a father and a partner was more than showing up physically. It was about consistency, patience, and humility. Every giggle, every hug, every tear wiped away was a step toward rebuilding the family he had once abandoned. The road ahead was still long. Clara's trust wasn't fully restored. The twins' hearts were still cautious. But Noah Reid had discovered a new kind of power, the power of love, presence, and redemption. And for the first time in his life, he realized that this empire of family, laughter, and trust was the most valuable thing he would ever build. It had been 2 months since Noah Reid first walked into Clara's hospital room. 2 months of awkward mornings, messy breakfasts, bedtime stories, and tearful tantrums. Yet, every day, Noah had shown up. Not as a businessman, not as a CEO, but as a father, patient, vulnerable, and determined. That Saturday morning, the apartment buzzed with the laughter of the twins. Leela and Lily ran circles around the living room, playing hide-and-seek, their giggles echoing like music Noah had long forgotten. Clara sat on the couch, observing quietly. Noah, kneeling on the floor, was guiding the girls through a simple puzzle. Each piece fitted carefully under his patient instructions. When one piece was forced, he gently corrected them, laughing when they rolled their eyes at him. "You've changed," Clara said softly, almost to herself. Noah looked up, his face serious but warm. "I had to. I can't undo the past, but I can be here for them. For you." Clara's eyes glistened. "You've earned small trust. Maybe someday, you can earn more." He nodded solemnly. "I'll spend every day trying." The twins, oblivious to the tension, clambered onto his lap, laughing as he tickled them. Noah held them close, feeling their tiny arms wrap around him. At that moment, he understood that this was the life he had ignored for ambition, the love he had abandoned, and the family he had once turned away from. Later that evening, the doorbell rang. Clara answered to find her parents standing there, smiling, holding small gift bags for the girls. Noah stepped forward politely, shaking their hands, feeling the unspoken judgment. "You've been showing up," Clara's mother said quietly. "We've noticed." "They're happy." Noah nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I will continue showing up, every day. That's my promise." After dinner, Clara asked Noah to read a bedtime story to the twins. He sat in the small rocking chair. The girls nestled on his lap, eyes wide and attentive. As he read, he saw Clara watching from the doorway, her gaze softening. She smiled faintly, the walls around her heart slowly crumbling. When the story ended, the twins hugged him tightly. "I love you, Daddy," Lila whispered. Noah's chest ached, tears threatening to spill. "I love you too," he whispered back. Kissing their foreheads gently, Clara stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. "I see now that you're sincere," she said quietly. Noah looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "I want to be the man they can rely on, the father they deserve, and maybe the partner you can trust again." Clara took a deep breath, her voice soft but resolute. "Actions speak louder than words. Keep showing up. Keep being patient. Keep loving them." "I will," he said simply, his voice firm with conviction. The next days were filled with moments that seemed ordinary but were extraordinary for Noah. He celebrated small victories, the twins learning to tie their shoes with his help, laughing uncontrollably during bath time, and finally calling him Daddy without hesitation. Each moment stitched him deeper into their lives. One evening, as they all sat together on the couch, Clara allowed herself to relax fully for the first time in months. She watched Noah make the girls giggle uncontrollably, listened to his soft, genuine laugh, and felt something she hadn't felt in years: trust. "Thank you," she whispered softly. "For what?" Noah asked, looking genuinely puzzled. "For showing up. For trying. For them," she said. Noah's eyes glistened. "It's not thanks I need. I'm just grateful for the chance to be part of your lives." The twins crawled into his lap, their small arms hugging him. He looked at Clara, a silent promise passing between them. He would never leave, he would never abandon. This family, fragile, beautiful, and imperfect, was now his world. That night, Noah stayed by the girls' bedsides until they fell asleep. Clara watched from the doorway, her heart finally letting go of the last remnants of fear. She knew this man had changed, not for fame, not for power, but for love. Noah whispered to himself as he watched the girls sleep, their tiny chests rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. "I will protect them. I will love them. I will never leave." And in that small apartment, filled with the quiet hum of the city outside, a family once broken began to heal. Noah Reid had learned the most important lesson of all. The greatest empire a man could build was love, trust, and family. The road ahead would still have challenges, but for the first time, Noah felt ready to fight for his daughters, to rebuild love with Clara, and to embrace the life he had once neglected. Because some things, laughter, tiny hands clutching yours, and unconditional love, were worth more than all the money in the world. Noah Reid, a billionaire CEO, chose business over love, until a hospital call revealed the life he never knew existed. His ex-wife Clara and their 3-year-old twin daughters changed everything in a single moment. Watch this heart-touching story of second chances, redemption, and the power of family. Experience the laughter, tears, and love that rebuilt a broken family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional millionaire romance stories that will touch your heart and leave you wanting more.